Hi there, I'm Anushka, mum to my 15-month-old son, and I was just in the middle of making a video about teaching my son about informed consent and bodily autonomy and identifying his own body parts when my phone ran out of storage. So this is part two of the video. It was getting quite long anyway, so I just thought I'd do a two-part one. I was in the middle of discussing these two books, which were about My Body Belongs to Me and Where Do Babies Come From? But I thought I would also use his baby boy anatomically correct boy doll, just to explain how I would go through this book with my son. So for Where Do Babies Come From? We have the book goes through where do plant babies come from, bird babies, animal babies, and then human babies. And the way they lay this book out is really nice in that it first has it has the same images, like I guess juxtaposed in the same position. So here we have this baby which he likes to give a hug. We have where do plant babies come from, where do baby birds come from, where do baby animals come from, where do human babies come from. And it has an egg here, and I explained to my son, when you were so small you were in mama's tummy, and he likes to poke my belly button. We have the bees and the sunflowers, and this explains how eggs need pollen from another flower to help them grow into seeds. And each egg joins with pollen grain to make a plant seed. He also likes to eat sunflower seeds, so he's very excited seeing how this plant grows up, turns into a sunflower, and he gets seeds from the sunflower. What's more relevant, I guess, is then we get to the birds. So we have the tiny eggs. So we have little bird sperm here, and then the tiny eggs, and they join together. Same thing, and then it shows this beautiful photograph of a duckling hatching, which is so cool, seeing them breaking open the shell and hatching over there, the baby duckling. And then we have the cat sperm and cat eggs, and the same thing with the cat. Then we have the mama cat with the little baby cats inside her tummy, and then they grow up and they become parents themselves. And then we have the humans. We have the human sperm and the human eggs, and then they join together to make a baby. And then we have the baby in the mama's tummy growing up 12 weeks, 24 weeks, 38 weeks, and then the baby's born at about 41 weeks. And it's really nice to see, this illustration of this baby growing up. I think my son's about here right now. And then when they grow to crawl, walk, and then they grow up over the years, and then they may become parents of their own and have their own children. So it goes through the whole reproductive cycle for plants, animals, and humans at a very age-appropriate level. And I think it's a great way to explain, even at my son's age at 15 months, it's never too early to kind of just start the topic at a very age-appropriate level, because I think they are curious, and it's better that you explain at an age-appropriate level at each stage and just have a story that continues to be built. At each age you can add a little bit more detail as they ask more questions. And then, when they're old enough, then they have the whole picture. And the reason I say that this is important in explaining bodily autonomy and consent is because this is part of understanding your whole body. Understanding where do babies come from is part of that discussion. And I find it interesting that some parents, would want to teach their children about bodily autonomy and skip this part out. I don't know. Next, we go to My Body Belongs to Me, which is a really cool book on consent. I have read it to my son, though it is a bit beyond him. I think this is probably one that is a little bit better for slightly older children, but it's still really important. So it says, other parts I have are not in open view. I call them my private parts. Of course you have them too. And then it has here, Mom and Dad once told me I was their little gem, and if someone hurt me, to always come to them. One day when we were visiting my Uncle Johnny's house, I was playing with some toys, quiet as a mouse. And so it has the story of this boy who this child who was touched, and they was by someone in a place that no one else could see, and it was inappropriate, and they froze, and then they thought, this is my body, why did he do that? And he said, it's our secret. And like, this is the kind of rhetoric that people use when they are sexually assaulting children, is say, oh, it's our secret, we won't tell anyone. So it's really important in your families to then explain to your child, we don't have secrets from each other. We may have, you know, things that we think in private, but we don't have secrets that we keep from one another. And they told their mom and dad, and they said they were really brave for telling them. And so it's like then having the response from the parents where it's like really supportive and enforces, you were so brave for telling us, and they're there for them, and it made them feel better. And I think often for children who have been sexually assaulted or abused, the lack of an appropriate parent response is really the thing that causes the most shame, you know, following the incident. So I think this is a really nice book for parents and children to read together, maybe at a slightly older level than what my son is right now. And next we have his little anatomically correct baby boy doll. So we play with his little doll a lot, and he calls it his baby. And as you can see, the baby boy has anatomically correct baby boy parts. My son is sort of half being toilet trained. He has been doing EC since he was 4 or 5 months old. So when we go to the toilet, you know, I might like show him his baby and say, baby also does a poo in the toilet. Here's baby's bum and his anus, that's where the poo comes out of. And here's his penis, and that's where the pee comes from. And then we say, only mama and appa can help my son's name have a bath and wash his penis and his anus in the bathroom, and only very quickly and when we need to wash you or change your diaper. And if a doctor needs to touch you, we will be there to support you, and we will be there with you if a doctor needs to examine you for any reason. And so I think having all of these books and resources that I've made, even like the feeling cards, you know, being able to identify, I feel sick, I feel worried, I feel angry, is part of then naming your emotions and explaining what's happened to you, as well as not just what's on your body, but what's going on in your head. And so I think all of this together is what I'm trying to use to help my son understand informed consent, bodily autonomy, his own body parts, and I guess also parental authority in a world where, you know, children, so much of what they do is determined by their parents, and like kind of navigating what it means to have parents tell you, older like adults tell you what to do, and when actually you can say, no, I am not doing this. You know, because sometimes it feels like if someone bigger than you tells you to do something, you have to do it. So I think it's important for them to understand that they can set boundaries around their own body. So these are some of the resources that I'm using. If as a parent you want to do a bit more research and look into how to explain some of these things to your own child, one book that I found particularly useful was Raising Feminist Boys by Bobby Wagner. I read it a few years ago. It was really good, and it's about raising boys who have empathy, understand consent, and bodily autonomy. And yeah, it's a great book, and she has a lot of you know, scripts and things like that about how to kind of start these conversations with your children, and what is the best, I guess, information to release at each stage of their development to build on, like, scaffold these conversations as they get older. So I hope that helped. This is something that I'm very passionate about. If you have any other resources that you would like to share to help me in how I teach my child about these topics, please do let me know. Thank you.